Ronan, so economist, you spoke to us here at a business breakfast briefing, Trinity Business Alumni this morning. Do you want to tell us maybe a little bit about your own background and what brought you here this morning?
Sure, yeah, well, I'm actually a Trinity alumni myself, did BESS, graduated in 2002. I stayed here for a couple of years doing postgraduate research in economics. Before I was in the public sector then for a couple of years. I worked in foreign affairs as a junior diplomat with Irish Aid, and then I worked in Forfos with the National Competitiveness Council. I also have a bit of private sector experience. I'm an economist for property website daft.ie, and I have worked also for IBM in their Centre for Economic Development.
Yeah, thanks very much. So you spoke to us this morning around the Irish economy and a bit of a reflection, I suppose, on how we've come to this place we're in today, with some thoughts on how we get out of the mess. Do you want to maybe recap on maybe the top 3 points or the main 3 insights that you would have?
Sure, yeah. Thanks for the opportunity. The first is that this is not, Ireland is not in the international recession. We almost have our separate national recession going on. It just happens to be coincidentally at the same time as the global recession. Our exports are going up, but it's our domestic consumption, our domestic investment, and soon our domestic government expenditure that's going down. That's where we are. It's not an international crisis for us yet. Maybe it's not yet. And the second is that the property market probably does have a correction of somewhere between 40 and 60% to go, from peak to trough.
Yeah.
And the correction so far, at least measured by asking prices, has been between 20 and 25%. And if you believe closing prices are below that, then maybe the adjustment so far has already been 30 to 35%. So we have a little bit to go, particularly if we want to get back to yields that are healthy. And the third point I'd make is that the government really has to think in terms of, it has to get budget back into balance. It really has to think about what its priorities are, about what are the costs of unemployment and negative equity, particularly where they interact. What are they going to do about taxes, property tax, corporate tax, income tax, carbon tax, water tax, all these areas, and also the expenditure side. And really, no matter how many times you look at the numbers, you cannot ignore the subject of public sector pay. So those 3, the national nature of it, the property market effects, and the government budget were the 3 things I was hoping to communicate today.
Yeah, I think you absolutely did, and that fueled I think we might call it a healthy debate afterwards. What was the most challenging feedback or debating point that the floor raised to you then?
I think there was lots of great questions and comments. I think there was a common thread through most of them, which was, how do you make this politically acceptable, how do you make the audience receptive in a political sense? So whether it be property tax, the idea of throwing old people out of their homes or charging them €10,000 a year in property tax, and in public sector pay, how do you win over teachers or nurses or civil servants, the idea of cutting their pay by 30%, and even corporate tax, if the government has made commitments to multinationals, how can you be seen to change that without reneging on a commitment that you've made? So I think I suppose I spoke freely today and said, totally innocent of any political realities.
Yes.
Here's what we need to do. But it certainly has to be married to the political realities. And for me, the government needs to overcome that by communicating all the change that's needed over the next 3 or 4 years in a single plan for a government, rather than just a series of harsh budgets where people could be seen to be picked on in a particular budget.
Ronan Lyons, economist, thanks for joining us at TBA this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.